Alright, Chapter 6.6 is now working on solving equations using factoring, basically. Now, when we first started solving equations, we always dealt with linear equations, and it was always x or y or z or whatever variable it was, but it was always to the first power. Now we're going to start solving equations where it's quadratic, meaning it's going to be of degree 2. And hopefully you remember what it means to be degree 2. So, first thing first, let's talk about some steps. When solving these equations, you always need 0 on one side of your equation. So you always need 0 on one side of the equation. So if there is not a 0 on one side of the equation, you must move everything to the other side. Now, for problem 84, it's already set up that way. So what we're going to do is we basically need to solve for x. And basically what we mean is there are some there may be a number such that if I plug it in for x and do this calculation, I will end up with 0. So our goal here is to find out if that x exists and what he is. So the first thing we gotta do is always have 0 on one side of the equation, and then your next step is to literally, you're gonna like this, factor. You must factor. Now we are on 6.6, which means we went through 6.1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hopefully by this time you are doing all right with factoring, to the point that I will start skipping steps and leaving things out. And if you need to on your paper, if you're working along with me, show your steps and verify it. So when you factor x squared plus 5x minus x squared plus 5x minus 14, it factors into x plus 7 times x minus 2 equals 0. Factor the left side, leave the 0 on the right side. Okay? Now, hopefully you're factoring this on your paper to verify you got what I got. Then, the next part is to use the zero product property, which says if I have A times B equals 0, well, one of them must be 0, or both of them must be 0. So you said A equal to 0, as well as B equal to 0. So look here, I have x plus 7 times x minus 2 equals 0. That means x plus 7 must equal 0, or x minus 2 must equal 0. And then, of course, you solve. So this means x is negative 7, and this one says x is 2. Therefore, you just found your solution. X is negative 7 and x is 2. And if you wanted to, you can take this 2 or this negative 7, plug it back into the original problem, and you can verify that you'll get 0. Alright, let's move on to number 86. So this one says 2x squared plus 15x equals 8. Well, what do we notice on the right side? It is an 8 when it needs to be a 0. So then how do you move 8? You just subtract it. Subtract 8. So now you have 2x squared plus 15x minus 8 equals 0. Okay, so the first step was get 0 on the right side. Then you want to factor. Okay, so let's see if we can factor this. And of course, make sure you're doing your steps on your paper to verify with me. And I'm going to attempt to do this in my head. Okay, 2x squared, 16, 15, negative 8 equals 0. Okay, so at this point, if you need to, pause the video, do your steps, and make sure you came up with this piece right here. Alright, now once you do that, Again, you're going to use the zero product property. So you're going to set the first parentheses equal to 0, as well as the second. So let me say that one more time. You're going to set the first group equal to 0. Then you're going to set the second group equal to 0 and solve. So how do you solve this? Add 1 to both sides, and you have 2x equals 1. Divide by 2, and you have x equals a half. If you need a refresher on solving linear equations of this type, refer back to chapter 2. So I have two answers, x equals -8, and again, x equals a half. And if you take any one of these answers and plug it back into the original problem, you'll see it works. When you plug it back into the original problem, just plug it into the left side and verify that it equals the right side. Alright, one more problem for us to work on. Number 90. Well, again, notice that the right side needs to be a 0. So it needs to be 0. So I'm going to subtract 100 on both sides. And I get 9x squared minus 100 equals 0. Okay. And I need to factor this, right? Well, it should be ringing in your head that this is in the form a squared minus b squared. Look at 9. He is a perfect square. 100 is a perfect square. And the exponent is even. And let's see, remember that this factored into a plus b times a minus b. Well, a is determined by the first term. So that 9x squared tells me that a is going to be 3x. And b is going to be determined by the 100. So a is just going to be 10. So this factors into 3x plus 10 times 3x minus 10 equals 0. And like before, use the zero product property. So the first group, 3x plus 10, equals 0. And as well as 3x minus 10 equals 0. Then of course subtract 10 on both sides. And you have 3x equals -10, divide by 3. And you have x equals -10 over 3. And of course solve the second equation. Add 10 to both sides. And you get 3x equals +10, divide by 3. And you have x equals 10 over 3. And again, you have two answers. You may take either answer, plug it back into the original problem, and when you plug it back in, plug it into the left side, plug it only into the left side, and verify that you get the right side. Alright, this concludes the video for 6.6. Let me know if you have any questions.